It was a sunny Saturday afternoon when I decided to finally tackle the long list of chores I'd been putting off. My boyfriend, Jake, and I had been together for 5 years, and life had settled into a comfortable routine. We lived together in a cozy apartment in the city, our walls decorated with memories captured in photos and art we'd collected over the years. Everything seemed perfect, or at least, it was a facade I had built in my mind. As I dusted the shelves, I thought about our plans for the evening, a double date with my best friend, Lisa, and her boyfriend. Lisa had been my confidante since high school, always there through thick and thin. She was the kind of person who could light up a room with her smile, and Jake had grown fond of her over the years. The thought of spending time together filled me with excitement, and I couldn't wait to catch up with them. Later that day, I dressed in a simple but flattering black dress, feeling confident and ready for a night of laughter and fun. Jake had promised to be home by 6 p.m., and I had everything planned. I checked my phone, no messages. I brushed it off, assuming he was just caught up with work or traffic. When 6 p.m. rolled around, I felt a twinge of unease. I texted him, but my message went unanswered. I tried calling, but it went straight to voicemail. I tried to shake off the feeling of worry, convincing myself that he'd show up any minute. After all, he had never left me waiting like this before. By 6:45 p.m., my heart sank. I knew I had to reach out to Lisa. "Hey, do you know if Jake is running late?" I texted her, hoping she had some insight. A few minutes passed before my phone buzzed. "Hey. No, I haven't seen him yet. You okay?" The response felt oddly distant, and I couldn't shake the knot tightening in my stomach. I replied, "Yeah, just waiting for him to come home. I hope he's okay." As time passed, I tried to distract myself by tidying up the apartment, but my mind was racing. What could be taking him so long? The worst thoughts began to creep in, and I struggled to push them away. I didn't want to think that something was wrong, but the anxiety gnawed at me. At 7:30 p.m., the door finally swung open. Jake walked in, looking disheveled and flustered. "Hey, sorry I'm late," he said, running a hand through his hair. "I lost track of time at the office." "Lost track of time?" "It's Saturday," I replied, a hint of frustration slipping into my voice. He brushed it off with a casual smile, but I could see a flicker of something in his eyes, guilt. I shook it off, reminding myself that he had never given me a reason to doubt him. We arrived at the restaurant where Lisa and her boyfriend were waiting for us. The mood was lively, filled with laughter and clinking glasses, but I felt an undercurrent of tension between Jake and me. He seemed distracted, often glancing at his phone, and I couldn't help but notice how he laughed a little too hard at Lisa's jokes. As the night wore on, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Jake was distant, and although he engaged in conversation, I felt a wall between us. The laughter that filled the air felt like a cruel joke, and I forced myself to smile, pretending everything was fine. When we finally said our goodbyes, I noticed Jake's phone buzzing in his pocket. He quickly checked it and shoved it back, looking slightly panicked. I dismissed it as a work-related message, but that knot in my stomach tightened even further. That night, as we lay in bed, I turned to him. "Are you okay? You seem different." He rolled onto his side, avoiding my gaze. "Yeah, I'm fine. Just tired." But I couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to his words. As I lay there in the darkness, staring at the ceiling, I couldn't help but wonder, was I losing him? I closed my eyes, hoping to find peace, but the seeds of doubt had been planted. Little did I know, this was just the beginning of a storm that would shatter the life I had built and lead me down a path I never expected to walk. Chapter 2, Whispers of Betrayal. The days turned into weeks, and the knot in my stomach only tightened. Jake and I settled back into our routine, but an unspoken tension lingered between us. Every time I saw him staring at his phone, a chill ran down my spine. The laughter that once echoed through our apartment had faded, replaced by an uneasy silence that clung to the air. I tried to confront it. "Jake, we need to talk," I said one evening as we were making dinner together. He looked up, surprise etched on his face. "About what?" he asked, his voice slightly defensive. "I don't know. You've been distant lately. Is something bothering you?" I pressed, trying to keep my tone light, but the worry in my heart seeped into my words. He set down the knife and wiped his hands on a towel. "I've just been busy with work. You know how it is." "Yeah, but it feels like you're not really here with me," I replied, my voice faltering. "I miss us." "I'm here, aren't I?" he said, and for a moment, I caught a glimpse of the warmth I once knew. But it vanished as quickly as it came, leaving me with nothing but uncertainty. As the weekend approached, I tried to keep myself distracted. Lisa had invited me to a small get-together at her place. I figured it would be a good opportunity to reconnect with her and take my mind off things. I asked Jake if he wanted to join, but he declined, saying he had plans with some friends. I arrived at Lisa's feeling a mix of excitement and anxiety. The atmosphere was light, filled with laughter and the clinking of glasses. Lisa greeted me with a warm hug. "I'm so glad you could make it. We've missed you," she said, her eyes sparkling with happiness. As the night wore on, I tried to immerse myself in conversations, but I couldn't shake the feeling that I was putting on a mask. I found myself scanning the room for Jake's familiar face, but he wasn't there. The more I tried to enjoy myself, the more I felt like an outsider in my own life. "Are you okay?" Lisa asked, her voice softening as she noticed my distant expression. "Yeah, just thinking about Jake," I admitted, sighing. "He's been so different lately." Lisa bit her lip, and I could see the wheels turning in her mind. "Do you think something is going on?" I shrugged, unsure of how to articulate my fears. "I don't know. I feel like he's hiding something from me." "Maybe you should talk to him again," she suggested gently. "You know I'm always here for you, right?" I nodded, grateful for her support, but deep down, I felt the weight of my emotions crushing me. As the night wound down, I decided to head home early, feeling the familiar sense of dread creeping back in. When I got home, Jake was still out. I tried to distract myself by binge-watching a series, but my mind kept wandering back to him. Around midnight, I heard the front door creak open, and my heart raced. Jake stumbled in, his laughter echoing through the hallway. "Hey, babe," he slurred slightly, his breath laced with the unmistakable scent of alcohol. "You're still up?" "Yeah, just waiting for you," I replied, my voice tinged with concern. "How was your night?" "Fun. Just hung out with the guys," he said, swaying slightly. But something about his demeanor felt off, there was an edge to his laughter, and it didn't sit well with me. I waited for him to acknowledge how late it was or to ask me about my evening, but he didn't. Instead, he collapsed onto the couch and pulled out his phone, scrolling through messages with a distracted look. "Jake," I said, my heart racing. "Can we talk?" "Not right now, I'm a bit tired," he replied, barely looking up from his screen. My chest tightened, and I felt tears prick my eyes. "Okay," I whispered, forcing myself to stay composed as I walked to the bedroom. The sense of betrayal was a bitter taste on my tongue, and I hated that I felt so powerless. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, consumed by thoughts of doubt. The following day, I decided to take matters into my own hands. I couldn't keep living in uncertainty. I needed answers, and I was determined to find them. I planned to meet Lisa for brunch, but as I was getting ready, I heard my phone buzz on the dresser. A notification flashed on the screen, and my heart stopped. Jake's phone was lighting up with a message from a contact I didn't recognize. Curiosity got the better of me, and I picked up his phone, heart racing. As I unlocked it, I saw a message from someone named Katie. My stomach twisted. "Can't wait to see you tonight. I miss you." I felt like the ground had been ripped out from beneath me. The air around me felt suffocating, and I struggled to breathe. My mind raced with 1,000 questions, but one stood out above all: who was Katie? And what was Jake hiding? I quickly locked the phone and placed it back down, my hands trembling. I couldn't confront him yet, I needed to gather more information. As I headed out to meet Lisa, the knot in my stomach had transformed into something sharper, an intense fear of betrayal that I never wanted to face. Little did I know, the truth was closer than I thought, and it would come crashing down with a force that would leave me shattered. Chapter 3, The Unraveling. Brunch with Lisa was a blur. I sat across from her at our favorite cafe, my usual excitement replaced by a heaviness that weighed down my every thought. As she chatted about her latest work projects and shared funny stories about her boyfriend, I found myself nodding along absent-mindedly, barely absorbing anything she said. My mind was a storm, clouded with betrayal and fear. "Are you sure you're okay?" Lisa asked, her voice laced with concern as she paused mid-sentence. "You seem really distracted today." I took a deep breath, summoning the courage to open up. "Actually, there's something I need to talk to you about," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. Lisa leaned in closer, her eyes wide with interest. "What's going on?" "I think Jake is cheating on me," I blurted out, the words tumbling from my lips before I could stop them. "I found a message on his phone from someone named Katie. It said she misses him." Lisa's expression shifted from curiosity to shock, her mouth forming a small O. "Oh my God. Are you serious?" "I can't believe it either," I replied, feeling tears sting my eyes. "I've been so worried about him, and now this, it's like everything is falling apart." "Have you talked to him about it?" she asked gently. "I can't yet. I want to gather more evidence before I confront him. I need to know for sure," I said, feeling the weight of uncertainty pressing down on me. Lisa nodded slowly, her expression turning serious. "I get it. Just be careful, okay? If he is cheating, you deserve to know the truth." We finished brunch, but I couldn't shake the sense of dread that loomed over me. As we walked back to my car, I caught myself staring off into the distance, lost in thought. I felt as if I were in a waking nightmare, the reality of my situation settling heavily in my chest. Once I got home, I steeled myself for the next steps. I knew I needed to stay vigilant. I had never thought I'd find myself in a situation like this, but my instincts screamed that something was very wrong. That evening, Jake came home later than usual. I could hear him laughing in the hallway before he stepped through the door. My heart raced. I had a million questions running through my mind, but I had to remain calm. "Hey, you," he said, his voice chipper. He leaned in to kiss me, but I pulled back, feeling a surge of anger and betrayal. "Where were you?" I asked, my voice steady but firm. "Just out with the guys again," he said nonchalantly. "We grabbed dinner and played some games." "Right," I replied, crossing my arms. "Any particular reason you've been out so much lately?" He shrugged, still appearing unfazed. "Just trying to unwind, you know. Work's been stressful." I wanted to believe him, but the nagging doubt in my mind wouldn't let me. I needed to confront him, but I didn't know how to approach the subject without revealing my hand. Instead, I took a deep breath and tried to act as normal as possible. "Do you want to watch a movie?" I suggested, desperate to divert the tension. "Sure. Sounds good," he replied, plopping down on the couch and grabbing the remote. As he flipped through the channels, I couldn't help but feel that he was putting on an act, trying to maintain the facade of our relationship. Later that night, I found it hard to sleep. I lay in bed next to Jake, who was snoring softly, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing in my mind. As I stared at the ceiling, my thoughts raced back to that message. Who was Katie? Why was Jake keeping her a secret? The next day, I decided to take a more proactive approach. I reached out to Lisa, asking if she could help me track down any information about this mysterious Katie. I just need to know who she is, I told her. If she's someone I should be worried about. Of course. I'll dig around and see what I can find, she said, her voice brimming with determination. With that, I turned my attention to Jake. I needed to subtly keep tabs on him, to see if I could catch any signs that would confirm my fears. I started taking mental notes of his habits when he left for work, how late he stayed out, and whether he would respond to my texts. Days passed, and each moment felt like an eternity. The tension between us only grew, and I could feel Jake's unease whenever I was around him. It was as if he sensed the distance, but he had no idea how close I was to uncovering the truth. One evening, after yet another late-night outing, Jake stumbled in, reeking of alcohol again. My heart raced, and anger surged through me. This time, I decided I wouldn't let him brush me off. Jake, we need to talk, I said firmly as he settled onto the couch. Can't it wait? I'm tired, he replied, annoyance creeping into his tone. No, it can't wait, I pressed. I've been feeling like you're hiding something from me, and I need you to be honest. Are you seeing someone else? He froze, the color draining from his face. What? No. Where is this coming from? His voice was defensive, but there was a flicker of panic in his eyes that sent alarm bells ringing in my head. I found a message on your phone from someone named Katie, I said, my heart pounding. I need to know the truth, Jake. His silence spoke volumes, and the weight of those unspoken words crashed down on me. I watched as his expression shifted from surprise to guilt, and in that moment, I knew that my worst fears were coming to fruition. The storm I had been dreading was finally here, and I was left standing at the center, trying to brace myself for the impact. Chapter 4, The Confrontation. Jake stared at me, the silence stretching between us like a taut wire ready to snap. His eyes darted around the room, avoiding mine, and the pit in my stomach deepened. I felt a mix of anger, betrayal, and an overwhelming sense of heartbreak. Who is she? I demanded, my voice firm but shaking with emotion. I deserve to know the truth. He ran a hand through his hair, a nervous habit I had come to recognize over the years. Look, it's not what you think, he stammered, but the way his voice trembled told me otherwise. Katie is just a friend from work. A friend? Just a friend. I echoed incredulously. Jake, you don't send messages like that to just a friend. She misses you. What does that even mean? I was drunk. I didn't mean anything by it, he blurted out, his tone defensive. We were just having a few drinks after work, and I wasn't thinking straight. Drunk or not, you didn't delete the message, I shot back, my frustration boiling over. If she's just a friend, why do you feel the need to keep her a secret? I didn't want to upset you, he exclaimed, throwing his hands up in exasperation. You know how you get about me hanging out with other girls. I didn't think it would be a big deal. A big deal. I felt my heart racing, my emotions spiraling. Jake, this is a huge deal. It's not just about her, it's about trust. You've been distant, you've been lying, and now I find this? It's like you don't even care about how I feel. I do care, he pleaded, desperation creeping into his voice. I love you. I would never cheat on you. I promise. The sincerity in his voice clashed with the reality of what I had discovered. Then why didn't you tell me about her? Why keep it a secret? He took a deep breath, his shoulders slumping. I didn't want to hurt you. It was just a stupid mistake. A mistake? I repeated, incredulous. What do you call flirting with someone? It's not just a mistake, it's a betrayal. Do you realize that? I know, he said, frustration seeping into his tone. But I wasn't thinking clearly. I promise it meant nothing. The tears I had been holding back finally broke free, streaming down my cheeks. You don't get to decide what's nothing and what's something, Jake. You've crossed a line, and I don't know if I can come back from this. He stepped closer, reaching out to touch my arm. Please don't say that. Let's work through this together. I can fix this, I swear. Fix it? I scoffed, pulling away from his touch. You can't just fix trust with empty promises. It takes time and effort, and right now, I don't see any of that from you. I need space to think. I turned away, needing to put some distance between us, but he grabbed my wrist gently. Don't walk away from me. We can talk this out. I'm sorry, I'll do anything to make it right. Anything. I challenged, turning back to face him. How about being honest? How about you start there? The moment hung heavy between us, and I could see the conflict in his eyes. Okay, I will. I promise, he said, his voice softer now. But please, don't walk away. As I looked into his eyes, I saw a flicker of the man I fell in love with, but it felt buried beneath layers of deception. I took a deep breath, trying to regain my composure. I need time, Jake. I can't promise I'll be here waiting for you. You need to understand how serious this is. He nodded slowly, resignation washing over his face. I get it. Just, don't make any rash decisions yet. Please. I didn't respond, I simply walked to our bedroom, feeling like the weight of the world was on my shoulders. I collapsed onto the bed, tears soaking my pillow as the reality of what was happening settled in. I felt utterly lost, adrift in a sea of pain and confusion. After some time, I heard Jake move around the apartment, the sound of his footsteps echoing in the silence. I could tell he was trying to give me space, but the air felt thick with unresolved tension. My heart ached for the past we had shared, the love that felt so solid and real just a few weeks ago. The next morning, I woke to find Jake already gone. He had left a note on the kitchen counter, scribbled in his hurried handwriting, I'm sorry. I love you. Let's talk later. It felt more like a placeholder than a resolution, a bandage on a wound that needed much more care. I went about my day in a haze, trying to keep myself distracted. But the thoughts of Jake and Katie loomed large in my mind. I needed to see what else I could find out about her. I decided to reach out to Lisa, who had promised to do some digging for me. I texted her, hey, can you find out anything about this Katie? I really need to know who she is. Her response came almost immediately, I'll get on it. I'll text you as soon as I find something. I appreciated her support more than I could express, but I knew I was still facing this battle alone. As I tried to piece together my thoughts, I felt an overwhelming urge to take control of the situation. That evening, Jake came home late again. This time, he looked exhausted, his face drawn and pale. I could see he had been drinking again, and my heart sank further. Hey, he said softly, approaching me cautiously. How was your day? Just the same. I was thinking more about everything, I replied, my heart racing as I prepared to confront him again. And I still don't have answers about Katie. His expression shifted, and I could see the regret etched on his face. I told you, she's just a co-worker, he said defensively. We were just being friendly. It didn't mean anything. Friendly? I scoffed. You don't send messages like that to just anyone. You don't talk to a coworker like that. What's really going on? I swear, it was a mistake, he insisted, frustration creeping into his tone again. I'll talk to her and make sure she knows it was nothing. Will you? I challenged, crossing my arms. Because it feels like you're not being straight with me. How do I know you're not just saying what I want to hear? He opened his mouth to respond, but no words came out. The silence between us felt suffocating, and I could see the cracks in his facade beginning to show. Jake, I need you to be honest with me, I said softly, stepping closer. If there's something more going on, I need to know. Please. I don't want to lose you, he finally admitted, his voice trembling. I'll do anything to prove that I love you. I'll talk to her, I promise. Proving it starts with being honest, Jake, I replied, my heart heavy with uncertainty. I need to feel secure in this relationship again, and right now, I just feel broken. He reached for my hand, and I hesitated before letting him take it. I'll fix this. I love you, and I want to make things right, he said, his voice sincere. But the words felt hollow against the reality I was living. I could only nod, feeling the weight of my heart sink further. I wanted to believe him, but with each passing moment, I wondered if our love could survive the shadows that now loomed over us. The following days dragged on, filled with a mixture of tension and hope. I was still waiting for Lisa to get back to me with any information about Katie. I hoped that uncovering the truth would help me find clarity, but I was also terrified of what I might discover. Each time Jake came home, I felt a blend of love and resentment simmering just beneath the surface. I wanted to hold on to the man I once knew, but the betrayal was a bitter taste I couldn't shake. As the weekend approached, I felt the pressure building. I knew I needed to confront Jake again, to ask the questions that haunted me. But I also knew I needed to be prepared for whatever revelations lay ahead. I spent that Saturday pacing around the apartment, lost in thought. I had half a mind to confront Jake directly, but I wanted to give him a chance to be honest with me on his own. When he finally arrived home, I took a deep breath, steeling myself for the conversation I knew was inevitable. But before I could say anything, my phone buzzed. It was Lisa. I found some information about Katie. We need to talk. My heart raced as I read the message, a sense of dread washing over me. I felt like I was standing on the edge of a cliff, ready to plunge into the unknown. Jake, we need to talk, I said firmly, my voice steady despite the chaos in my heart. What about? He asked, his brow furrowing in concern. I looked him in the eye, searching for any sign of the truth buried beneath his defenses. Chapter 5, The Truth Unfolds. Jake, we need to talk, I said firmly, my voice steady despite the chaos in my heart. What about? He asked, his brow furrowing in concern. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for what was about to come. Lisa found some information about Katie. I think you need to hear it. His face paled slightly, a flicker of panic crossing his features. What do you mean? What did she find? I hesitated for a moment, debating how much to reveal. I don't want to jump to conclusions, but I think it's important we address this directly. No more secrets. Jake's expression shifted from surprise to defensiveness. What do you mean? I told you she's just a co-worker. Then why is Lisa digging into her life? What does she have to do with us? I pressed, frustration building. If there's nothing going on, you shouldn't be worried. He ran a hand through his hair again, a nervous habit I had noticed when he was anxious. I'm not worried, I just don't want to hear anything bad about her. It's not her fault. That's not the point, Jake, I said, my voice rising. You're avoiding the real issue here. I found that message on your phone, and you still haven't explained it? You need to be honest with me. He sighed heavily, glancing away. Okay, Fine. What did Lisa say? I felt a mixture of fear and determination as I pulled out my phone to show him the message I had received. She found some social media posts from Katie. Apparently, she's been posting about you quite a bit. It seems like she's been trying to get your attention. Jake looked at the screen, his face paling as he read the messages Lisa had forwarded. I didn't know she was doing that, he said, his voice quiet. I thought she was just friendly. Friendly? Jake, this isn't just being friendly. It sounds like she has feelings for you, I shot back, my heart racing as I felt the walls closing in around us. This is serious. I promise you, it's not like that, he insisted, his voice rising defensively. I never encouraged her. I swear. But you didn't shut it down either, did you? I countered, my frustration boiling over. You kept her around, and that's what makes this so painful for me. He looked defeated, the fight leaving his eyes. I should have been more careful. I didn't think it would go this far. I didn't mean for it to happen. Didn't mean for what to happen. I pressed, desperate to get clarity. Are you saying you've had feelings for her? Or did something happen between you two? He took a deep breath, visibly struggling to find the right words. Nothing happened. I promise. It was just a stupid mistake on my part. I didn't think about how it would affect you, and I regret not being honest from the start. Regret isn't enough anymore, Jake. You need to understand how serious this is, I said, feeling tears prick at my eyes again. I've felt so betrayed, and I don't know if I can move past it. Please, just give me a chance to prove that I can be better, he begged, his voice trembling. I love you. I don't want to lose you over this. I'll talk to Katie. I'll tell her to back off. Just, please don't walk away. The desperation in his eyes was palpable, and I felt a small part of me soften. Jake, I don't want to just hear promises. I need actions. I need to see that you're willing to make this right. He nodded earnestly, tears glistening in his eyes. I will. I'll do whatever it takes. Just please believe me. Believe you. I echoed, my heart heavy with doubt. It's hard to trust after everything. I need time to figure out what I want, and I need you to respect that. He nodded, swallowing hard. I understand. Just know that I'm here, waiting for you. I love you, and I want to fix this. As he stepped back, I felt the weight of uncertainty hanging in the air. It was clear that this was far from over. The storm wasn't just a passing cloud, it was a hurricane that had uprooted everything I thought I knew. That night, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, my mind racing. I replayed the conversation in my head, searching for clues, for signs that things could go back to normal. But a part of me knew that normal would never be the same again. The love I had felt so deeply was now entangled with doubt and fear. I found myself reaching out to Lisa, needing the comfort of her friendship. Can we talk? I typed, my fingers trembling as I hit send. Of course. I'm here for you. Just let me know when, she replied almost immediately. I felt a flicker of hope. At least I wasn't alone in this. The next day, Lisa came over, bringing coffee and pastries. I welcomed her into our apartment, grateful for her presence. We settled on the couch, and she looked at me with concern. How are you holding up? She asked gently. Honestly? I'm a mess, I admitted, feeling tears well up again. Jake says he loves me and wants to make things right, but I don't know if I can trust him again. Have you thought about what you want? Lisa asked, her voice steady. Do you want to stay with him, or is it time to move on? I sighed heavily, burying my face in my hands. I don't know. I still love him, but how do you move past something like this? The trust is broken, and I don't want to be in a relationship where I'm constantly doubting him. Lisa nodded, understanding in her eyes. You have every right to feel that way. Take your time. There's no rush to make a decision. Just then, my phone buzzed on the table. I reached for it, seeing a message from Jake. Hey, can we talk tonight? I want to discuss everything with you. Please. My heart raced at the thought of facing him again. I knew I had to be honest about my feelings, but I also feared what his response might be. I think I need to talk to him, I said quietly, my voice shaking. Are you ready? Lisa asked, concern etched on her face. I don't know, I admitted. But I have to try. I can't keep living in this limbo. That evening, as the sun began to set, I prepared myself for the conversation that awaited me. Jake arrived home, his expression a mix of hope and apprehension. Hey, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. Hey, I replied, taking a deep breath. We need to have a real conversation. He nodded, his expression serious. I know. I've been thinking a lot about what you said. Good. Because I need you to understand where I'm coming from, I said, my heart pounding in my chest. I still love you, but trust doesn't just come back overnight. You have to earn it again. Of course, he replied earnestly. I want to show you that I can be better. I'll do anything it takes. I looked him in the eye, searching for sincerity. Then let's start with honesty. I want to know everything who Katie is and why she's been messaging you. No more secrets. Jake nodded, his expression serious. Okay. I promise to be completely honest. Katie is someone I worked with on a project. She started messaging me after we finished the project together. I didn't think much of it at first, but when she started sending flirty messages, I didn't know how to handle it. Flirty messages. I echoed, feeling my heart drop again. Why didn't you tell me? Why let it go on? I didn't want to upset you, he admitted, shame coloring his cheeks. But I see now that it was wrong to keep it from you. I should have shut it down immediately, and I regret not doing that. Regret doesn't change what happened, I replied, feeling the tears well up again. It's hard for me to look at you right now and not feel betrayed. I don't want to feel like I'm always going to have to question your loyalty. I understand, he said, his voice breaking. I never wanted to hurt you. I promise I'll talk to Katie and make sure she knows it's over. I'll block her if that's what you need. I nodded slowly, feeling a flicker of hope, but it was buried under layers of doubt. And what about us? Can you promise me that you'll work on being more honest? That you won't hide anything from me again? Absolutely, he replied earnestly. I want to rebuild our trust, and I'll do whatever it takes to show you that I'm serious. Words are just words, Jake. I need to see you put in the effort, I said, trying to maintain my resolve. This is going to take time, and I'm not sure how long that will be. But I can't pretend everything is fine when it's not. I'm willing to wait, he said, determination shining in his eyes. I love you, and I'm not giving up on us. His words hung in the air, heavy with unspoken promises. I could see the desperation in his eyes, a mix of fear and hope that I would choose to believe him. But I also knew I had to guard my heart, especially after everything that had happened. Okay, I said slowly, my voice trembling. Let's take it one day at a time. But I need you to understand that I'll be watching. I need to see the actions that back up your words. I get it? I'll show you, he replied, his eyes earnest. I'll do everything I can to prove to you that I'm committed to us. We stood in silence for a moment, the weight of the conversation settling over us like a blanket. I felt a flicker of hope, but it was accompanied by a sense of caution. My heart was still fragile, and the road ahead was filled with uncertainty. Can we talk about Katie? I asked, my heart racing again. What do you plan to say to her? I'll be straightforward. I'll tell her that it's over, that I'm in a relationship, and I won't tolerate any more messages from her, he said, determination edging his voice. I won't let her come between us. Good, I replied, feeling a small sense of relief. But I need you to promise me that you'll handle it firmly. No second chances. This isn't just about feelings, it's about respect. I promise, he said. I'll handle it. I know what's at stake here. That evening, as we sat on the couch together, I felt a tentative connection starting to form again. It was shaky, like a fragile thread that could snap at any moment, but it was something. We talked about our favorite memories and tried to bring some lightness back into the atmosphere. But as the night wore on, the reality of our situation lingered in the back of my mind. The love I had for him battled against the shadows of betrayal, and I knew that this was going to be a long and painful journey. The next day, Jake woke up early, determination in his eyes as he prepared for work. I'm going to talk to Katie this morning before I start my shift, he said, his voice steady. I want to get it over with. I nodded, my heart racing at the thought of him confronting her. Just be careful. Stay firm in your words. You need to be clear that it's over. I will, he promised, leaning in to kiss my forehead. I'll keep you updated. As he left for work, I felt a knot of anxiety settle in my stomach. I spent the day anxiously waiting for his text, my mind racing with what could happen. I knew that the conversation would be pivotal, not only for Jake but also for us. Hours passed, and as the afternoon sun began to dip lower in the sky, I finally received a message from him. Hey, can we meet after work? I talked to her. We need to discuss it in person. My heart raced as I read the message, a mixture of apprehension and hope flooding through me. I quickly replied, of course. I'll be here. When he arrived home that evening, I could see the tension in his posture. He walked in with a serious expression, the weight of the world resting on his shoulders. How did it go? I asked, my voice trembling as I tried to gauge his reaction. I talked to her, he said, his voice low. I was honest. I told her that I'm in a committed relationship and that her messages were inappropriate. She didn't take it well. What do you mean? I pressed, feeling my heart race again. Did she argue with you? She was upset, he admitted, rubbing the back of his neck. She tried to downplay it, acting like it was no big deal. But I was firm with her. I told her to stop contacting me, and if she couldn't respect that, then I'd have to escalate things. Did she agree? I asked, my anxiety spiking. She said she would, but I could tell she wasn't happy about it. I think she might try to reach out again, he said, worry creeping into his voice. I felt a wave of frustration wash over me. Jake, this isn't just about her feelings. It's about protecting our relationship. You need to make it clear that this is non-negotiable. I know, and I will. I'll keep my guard up, he promised. I don't want to lose you over this. Good, I said, feeling a mix of relief and lingering doubt. But you need to be prepared. If she tries to contact you again, you have to be firm. No second chances. I understand, he replied, determination shining in his eyes. I'll handle it. As the evening wore on, I could sense the weight of the conversation lingering in the air. We tried to relax and watch a movie, but the tension between us was palpable. I felt a need to address the underlying issues that were still unresolved. Jake, how do you really feel about everything? I asked suddenly, breaking the silence. Are you sure you want to stay in this relationship? Or is it easier to stay because of the situation? He looked taken aback, his brow furrowing as he considered my question. What do you mean? I just want to know if you truly want this, or if you feel trapped because of what happened, I clarified, my heart racing. I want this, he said earnestly, leaning forward. I love you, and I want to fight for us. I don't want anyone else. I want to make this right. You mean everything to me. I searched his eyes for any sign of insincerity but found none. Then show me, I said, my voice steady. Let's rebuild this together, but it's going to take work from both of us. Absolutely, he agreed, his expression serious. I'll do whatever it takes to show you that I'm committed. As we sat in silence, I felt a glimmer of hope. Maybe, just maybe, we could find a way through this darkness together. But I also knew that it wouldn't be easy. The road ahead was uncertain, and trust would take time to rebuild. In the days that followed, we began to navigate the tricky waters of our relationship. Jake made a concerted effort to communicate openly, sharing his thoughts and feelings without holding back. I appreciated the honesty, but the fear of betrayal still lingered in the back of my mind. I continued to lean on Lisa for support, sharing my struggles and fears with her. She was a steady presence in my life, reminding me to focus on my own well-being as I worked through the emotional fallout of Jake's actions. One afternoon, as I was on the phone with Lisa, she offered some advice. You need to set boundaries for yourself. It's okay to take time to heal. Don't rush back into things just because he's trying to make amends. Her words resonated deeply, and I realized I had been pushing myself to forgive too quickly. You're right. I need to take it slow and focus on what I truly want, I replied. Exactly, she encouraged. Take the time to evaluate what's best for you. You deserve to feel secure and happy in your relationship. As I hung up the phone, I felt a renewed sense of clarity. I decided to take a step back and re-evaluate my feelings, making sure I wasn't rushing to conclusions based on Jake's promises alone. That evening, I confronted Jake again. I need to set some boundaries, I said, my tone firm yet calm. I want to be open and honest with you, but I also need to take care of myself. He nodded, his expression serious. I understand. What do you need from me? I need to know that I can trust you, but that's going to take time, I replied. I need you to respect my feelings and give me the space to process everything. I don't want to feel pressured to forgive you right away. Of course, he said earnestly. I want you to feel safe. I'll give you the time you need. As the days turned into weeks, we began to settle into a new routine. I focused on healing, spending time with friends and engaging in activities that brought me joy. Jake was diligent about maintaining open communication, and slowly, I started to feel more at ease. But even as things began to improve, the specter of Katie still lingered in the background. I knew it wasn't over yet, I had to remain vigilant. Jake continued to assure me that he had cut ties with her, but my heart couldn't help but feel wary. One day, I received a message from Lisa while I was at work. Hey, just heard from a friend that Katie's been asking around about you and Jake. I don't know what she's up to, but stay alert. My stomach sank as I read the message. I immediately texted Jake, I just heard from Lisa that Katie is asking about us. What's going on? His response came quickly. I don't know why she'd do that. I told her to leave us alone. I'll handle it. I felt a surge of anger and frustration at the situation. This isn't just about you handling it. It's about our relationship. I need to know you're taking this seriously. I am. I'll reach out to her again and make it clear that it's over. I won't let her interfere, he assured me. Okay, but I still want to know what she's saying, I replied, my heart racing. I don't want to be blindsided again. If she's reaching out to you, I need to know. I understand, Jake replied, his tone serious. I'll keep you in the loop. I promise. But even as he said those words, I felt a gnawing doubt in my stomach. Trust was a fragile thing, and every time I thought we were moving forward, something would happen to pull me back. That night, as I lay in bed, my mind was a storm of thoughts. I couldn't shake the feeling that Katie wasn't done yet. I had seen how persistent she could be, and the idea of her lurking in the background made my skin crawl. The next morning, as I got ready for work, I decided I needed to confront Jake about my concerns again. When he walked in, coffee in hand, I took a deep breath. "Jake, can we talk?" I asked, my voice steady but laced with urgency. "Sure, what's on your mind?" he replied, placing the coffee on the table. "I just have this feeling that Katie is going to try to reach out to you again. I want you to promise me that if she does, you won't hesitate to block her or let me know immediately," I said, meeting his gaze. He looked at me, concern etching his features. "I promise. I don't want to go through this again. I'll be vigilant." "Vigilant isn't enough, Jake. I need you to be proactive," I pressed, my heart pounding. "You have to take this seriously. I can't keep questioning your loyalty." "I will. I'll make it clear that she has no place in our lives. I'll even talk to my manager to keep her away from me," he replied, determination flashing in his eyes. "Thank you," I said, feeling a glimmer of hope. "That's all I need to hear." As he left for work, I felt a renewed sense of determination. I would not let Katie's presence dictate the course of our relationship. I needed to stand firm and protect what was mine. Days passed, and while Jake seemed committed to improving our relationship, I still felt a lingering unease. I spent time with Lisa, and she encouraged me to trust my instincts. "Don't ignore your gut feelings. If something doesn't sit right, listen to that," she advised. That Friday, I was at home when my phone buzzed with a message from Jake. "Can we talk tonight?" I had a conversation with Katie. My heart dropped at the thought. "What about?" I texted back, my anxiety flaring. "Just come over. I'll explain everything," he replied. When he arrived home, he looked tense, his jaw clenched. I could tell that this wasn't going to be a simple conversation. "Jake, what happened?" I asked, my voice steady despite my racing heart. He sighed, running a hand through his hair. "Katie reached out to me again. I thought I made it clear that it was over, but she's persistent. She confronted me about our relationship and tried to guilt trip me." "Guilt trip you?" I echoed, feeling a wave of anger wash over me. "What did she say?" "She said that we were just friends and that I was overreacting by blocking her," he explained, frustration creeping into his voice. "She claimed that I was pushing her away for no reason and tried to make it seem like I was being unfair." "Did you let her get to you?" I asked, my heart racing. "No. I stood my ground. I told her that I'm committed to you and that she needs to stop contacting me," he said, determination flashing in his eyes. "But she didn't take it well. She started saying things that made me uncomfortable." "Like what?" I pressed, needing to know. "She said she didn't understand why I was so obsessed with you and that I was making a mistake by ignoring her," he replied, his voice tight with frustration. It was infuriating. "Did she threaten you?" I asked, my pulse quickening. "No, but she made it clear that she wasn't going to just disappear," he admitted, anger flickering in his eyes. It felt like a warning. My heart sank at the realization that Katie wasn't going to back down easily. "Jake, this isn't just about you. This is about us. You have to be clear with her that she needs to respect our relationship." "I know, and I will," he replied, his eyes intense. "But I need your support in this. I can't do it alone." "Of course. I'll stand by you," I said, feeling a surge of solidarity. "But you have to be proactive. This can't just be a one-time conversation. We need to set boundaries, and if she crosses them, You need to take action. He nodded, his expression serious. I'll handle it. I won't let her come between us. As the night wore on, I felt the tension between us shift slightly. Jake was trying to reassure me, and I could sense the determination in his voice. But the unease lingered, a reminder that we were still navigating treacherous waters. The next day, I decided to take action myself. I reached out to Lisa, wanting her input on how to handle the situation. I'm feeling uneasy about Katie, I confessed. Jake says he's done with her, but I don't know if I can trust that. Trust your instincts, she said firmly. If you think she's still trying to interfere, you should talk to Jake about setting firmer boundaries. You both need to be on the same page. That evening, as Jake and I settled down to watch a movie, I felt the need to address my concerns once more. Jake, I want to talk about Katie again, I said, my heart pounding. Okay, he replied, turning off the TV. What's on your mind? I just don't want to feel like I'm in the dark about this. If she reaches out to you again, I need to know immediately. It's crucial that we maintain open communication, I said, looking him in the eye. I promise, he replied, his tone earnest. I'll keep you in the loop. And I need you to be more firm with her if she tries to reach out again, I continued. This is about our relationship, and I won't tolerate any more drama. Understood, he said, his jaw set. I'll make sure she knows there's no place for her in my life. You're the only one I want. Feeling a flicker of reassurance, I leaned in and kissed him softly. Thank you. I just want to feel secure again. In the following weeks, we both worked hard to rebuild our relationship. Jake was diligent about communicating openly, and I tried to focus on regaining trust. But every time my phone buzzed with a message, I felt a flutter of anxiety, wondering if it was going to be another message about Katie. Then, one evening, as we were cooking dinner together, my phone buzzed with a notification. I glanced at it, and my heart sank as I read the name, Katie. Jake, I said, my voice trembling. It's her. What does she want? He asked, immediately on edge. I opened the message, my hands shaking. She says she wants to talk to you about something important. Jake's expression darkened, a mix of anger and frustration crossing his face. I'm not engaging with her. This is ridiculous. Jake, you need to respond. This could escalate if we ignore it, I urged, feeling the tension rise. He took a deep breath, his jaw clenched. Fine. I'll message her back. But I won't entertain any nonsense. I watched as he typed a response, my heart racing. He sent a clear message stating that he was not interested in discussing anything further and that she needed to respect his wishes. Done, he said, exhaling heavily as he set his phone down. Good, I replied, feeling a sense of relief. But I think we should prepare for her to react. Later that evening, as we settled down to relax, I couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't over yet. I wanted to believe that we were moving forward, but I knew Katie wouldn't give up easily. A few days later, I was at work when I received another message from Jake. Katie is making this harder than it needs to be. She keeps trying to get in touch. Is she still messaging you? I replied, my heart racing. Yeah, she sent a bunch of messages saying she wants to explain herself. I'm ignoring them, he replied. Jake, you can't just ignore this. She might escalate things if you don't respond, I warned, my anxiety rising. I'll block her if I have to, he assured me. But I don't want to give her any attention. I felt a pang of fear at the thought of her escalating the situation. Just be careful. We don't know how she'll react. That night, as we sat together in silence, I could sense the tension creeping back in. Jake was trying to reassure me, but the specter of Katie loomed large in our lives. Jake, Can we talk about what happens if she doesn't back off? I asked, my voice trembling. Of course. What are you thinking? He replied, turning to face me. I just want to know what our plan is. If she keeps reaching out, I need to know how you want.